Once upon a time, in a magnificent kingdom nestled between snow-capped mountains and emerald forests, there lived a king and queen who longed for a child. One winter's day, as the queen sat sewing by an ebony-framed window, she pricked her finger. 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow outside, and she made a wish. Oh, how I wish for a daughter with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony wood. Her wish came true. The queen gave birth to a beautiful daughter and named her Snow White. Tragically, the queen died shortly after the king, lonely and grieving, eventually remarried. The new queen was breathtakingly beautiful, but her heart was as cold as winter's frost. She possessed a magic mirror, and each morning she would stand before it and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would always reply, "You, my queen, are the fairest in the land." Years passed, and Snow White grew into a lovely young woman. She was kind to everyone. She fed the birds each morning, helped the servants with their chores, and spent her afternoons tending the palace gardens. The castle staff adored her gentle nature, and even the animals of the forest seemed drawn to her kindness. On Snow White's 16th birthday, the queen stood before her mirror as usual and asked her daily question. But this time, the mirror's answer changed. "You, my queen, are fair, it's true, but Snow White is now more beautiful than you." The queen's face twisted with rage and jealousy. From that moment, she could not bear the sight of her stepdaughter. Her envy grew like poison in her heart, giving her no peace day or night. Finally, she summoned her most trusted huntsman to her chambers. "Take Snow White deep into the forest," she commanded, her voice cold as ice. "Kill her there and bring me back her heart as proof." The huntsman, though horrified, had no choice but to obey his queen. The next morning, he told Snow White they were going on a hunt to gather herbs for the palace. As they walked deeper and deeper into the forest, Snow White noticed the huntsman growing more and more troubled. Finally, in a clearing far from any path, he fell to his knees before her. "Princess, I cannot do this terrible thing," he confessed, tears streaming down his weathered face. "The queen has ordered your death, but you have never shown me anything but kindness. You must flee from this kingdom and never return. Run far away, and may heaven protect you." Snow White, terrified and heartbroken, ran blindly through the forest. Branches tore at her dress, and thorns scratched her arms. She ran until her legs could carry her no further, collapsing beside a babbling brook as darkness fell. When morning came, she followed the stream until she spotted something unusual, a small cottage nestled in a grove of pine trees. The cottage was charming but peculiar. Everything about it seemed miniature. Snow White knocked, but no one answered. Finding the door unlocked, she cautiously entered. Inside, everything was tiny and arranged in sets of 7. 7 little chairs surrounded a small table set with 7 plates, 7 cups, 7 forks, and 7 knives. Against the wall stood 7 little beds in a neat row, each with a name carved into the headboard: Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. Snow White was desperately hungry and thirsty. Not wanting to take everything from any one place setting, she took a little bread from each plate, a sip from each cup, and finally, overcome with exhaustion, she lay down across several of the little beds and fell into a deep sleep. As night fell, the cottage's owners returned from their work in the diamond mines deep within the mountain. They were 7 dwarfs, each with his own distinct personality. When they lit their lamps and saw that someone had been in their home, they searched the cottage in confusion. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," exclaimed Doc, the eldest and wisest. "Someone's eaten from my plate," grumbled Grumpy, "and drunk from my cup," added Happy, always looking on the bright side. Then Sleepy, rubbing his eyes, noticed something on the beds. "Look, someone's sleeping here." All 7 dwarfs crowded around, their candles illuminating Snow White's peaceful face. They had never seen anyone so beautiful. "Who could she be?" whispered Bashful, his face turning red even in the dim light. Snow White stirred and opened her eyes to find 7 concerned little faces staring at her. Startled, she sat up quickly, but the kind expressions of the dwarfs reassured her. In a trembling voice, she told them her entire story about the jealous queen, the huntsman's mercy, and her desperate flight through the forest. The dwarfs listened with growing anger and compassion. "The wicked woman," cried Doc. "You poor child, you can stay with us. We'll keep you safe, but you must promise us one thing," added Grumpy, trying to sound stern despite his soft heart. "When we're away at the mines, don't let anyone into the cottage. The queen will surely discover you're still alive." Snow White gratefully agreed, and so began a new chapter in her life. Each morning, the 7 dwarfs would set off for the mines with their pickaxes over their shoulders, singing as they went. Snow White would keep the cottage tidy, prepare their meals, and mend their clothes. In the evenings, they would return home to a warm fire, delicious supper, and pleasant company. For the first time since her mother's death, Snow White felt truly happy. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the queen stood before her mirror, confident that Snow White was dead. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror replied, "You, my queen, are fair. It's true, but beyond the mountains, in the forest deep, where 7 dwarfs their vigil keep, Snow White still lives, and she is still more beautiful than you." The queen realized the huntsman had betrayed her. Her rage knew no bounds. She would have to take matters into her own hands. The queen was skilled in dark magic and the art of disguise. She transformed herself into an old peddler woman and created a bodice laced with poisoned silk. Disguised and carrying her wares, she journeyed through the forest until she found the dwarf's cottage. "Pretty things for sale," she called in a cracked voice. "Beautiful bodices and ribbons." Snow White, lonely during the long day and forgetting the dwarf's warning, opened the window to look. The old woman seemed harmless enough. "What lovely laces!" Snow White exclaimed. "Let me show you properly, my dear," said the disguised queen. "Come, let me lace this bodice on you. It will make your waist look beautiful." Snow White, trusting and innocent, let the old woman invert As the queen pulled the poisoned laces tight, Snow White couldn't breathe. She fell to the floor, seemingly lifeless. The queen, satisfied with her work, hurried away. When the seven dwarfs returned that evening, they found Snow White collapsed on the floor, her face pale and still. "What's happened?" cried Doc, checking for breath. Grumpy noticed the tightly laced bodice. "Look, she can't breathe." Quickly, he cut the laces, and Snow White gasped, color returning to her cheeks. When she recovered enough to speak, she told them about the old peddler woman. "That was no peddler, that was the queen," said Doc gravely. "You must never ever let anyone in again, no matter how harmless they seem," Snow White promised, shaken by how close she'd come to death. But the queen, upon consulting her mirror again, discovered that Snow White still lived. This time, she created a beautiful poisoned comb and disguised herself as a different old woman, a kindly grandmother selling hair ornaments. Once again, she made her way to the cottage. "Combs and pins, pretty things for your hair," she called. Snow White looked out but remembered her promise. "I cannot let anyone in," she said firmly. "Of course not, dear," said the queen sweetly. "I wouldn't dream of coming in. But just look at this beautiful comb, see how it sparkles. Surely you can admire it through the window." When Snow White leaned out to look at the comb, the queen quickly placed it in her hair. The moment the poisoned teeth touched her scalp, Snow White fell backward, unconscious. Again, the queen left triumphantly, and again, the dwarfs returned to find Snow White near death. This time, Bashful spotted the comb glittering in her hair. The moment they removed it, she began to breathe again, Snow White. Doc said sternly when she awoke, "The queen is determined to kill you. You must be more careful. Don't speak to anyone through the windows, don't accept anything from strangers, and keep the door locked at all times." Snow White wept and promised to be more vigilant. The queen's fury reached a peak when the mirror once more proclaimed Snow White the fairest. This time, she hissed, "I will make something so irresistible, so innocent-looking, that she cannot refuse it." She descended into her darkest chamber and used her most powerful magic to create a beautiful apple, red and white and perfectly formed. One half she filled with the deadliest poison known to her dark arts, poison so strong that even the smallest bite would cause a death-like sleep from which only true love's kiss could awaken the victim. This time, she disguised herself as a simple farmer's wife. She journeyed to the cottage carrying a basket of apples with the poisoned one placed prominently on top. "Apples, fresh apples," she called. Snow White didn't even open the window this time. "Go away. I cannot buy anything from you." "Buy? Oh no, dear child, I'm not selling," laughed the queen in her disguised voice. "I'm giving them away. An old woman like me has more apples than she can eat. Please, take one as a gift." "I cannot accept gifts from strangers," Snow White replied, though she could see the beautiful apples through the window and felt her mouth water. The queen smiled cunningly. "You think it might be poisoned? Look, I'll cut this apple in half. I'll eat the white half and you eat the red half. See, perfectly safe." She cut the apple and took a large bite of the unpoisoned white half, chewing happily. Snow White, seeing this, thought she had been too suspicious. The old woman seemed genuinely kind, and the apple looked delicious. Surely there was no harm in accepting such a simple gift. She opened the window and took the red half of the apple. The moment she bit into it, the poison took effect. Snow White fell to the ground, silent and still, looking for all the world as though she were peacefully sleeping. The queen laughed wickedly and transformed back into herself. White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony, and now as dead can be. This time, the dwarves cannot save you. When the 7 dwarfs came home that evening, they found Snow White on the floor, the piece of apple still in her hand. They tried everything. They loosened her clothes, they combed her hair, they washed her face with water and wine, but nothing worked. Snow White showed no sign of life. The dwarfs wept bitterly for 3 days and 3 nights. They couldn't bear to bury her in the cold, dark earth, for she looked as alive and beautiful as ever, with color still in her cheeks and lips. Instead, they crafted a coffin of glass and gold, wrote her name in golden letters upon it, and placed it on a hilltop in the forest where the sun could shine upon it. They took turns keeping watch over her, and even the animals of the forest came to mourn first, the birds, then the deer, and even a wise old owl who hooted sadly in the night. Years passed, and Snow White remained unchanged in her glass coffin, as beautiful as the day she fell asleep. One spring day, a prince from a neighboring kingdom was hunting in the forest when he came upon the hilltop and saw the glass coffin gleaming in the sunlight. He approached and was struck by Snow White's beauty. Reading the golden inscription, he learned who she was. He turned to the dwarfs, who were keeping their vigil nearby. "Please," he begged, "let me take her to my palace. I will honor her and keep her safe. I cannot explain it, but I feel I have been searching for her my whole life." At first, the dwarfs refused, but the prince spoke with such genuine love and sorrow that their hearts softened. "Very well," said Doc finally. "You may take her." The prince's servants carefully lifted the coffin to carry it down the mountain path. But as they walked, one of them stumbled on a root. The coffin jolted, and the movement dislodged the piece of poisoned apple from Snow White's throat. Suddenly, her eyes fluttered open. The glass lid was raised, and Snow White sat up, looking around in wonder. "Where am I? What happened?" The prince, overcome with joy, told her everything. Snow White, seeing his kind face and noble bearing, felt her heart stir with affection. She also saw her faithful dwarfs weeping with happiness. "Will you come with me to my kingdom?" the prince asked. "Will you be my bride?" Snow White looked at the 7 dwarfs who had protected and loved her. "Only if my dear friends can come with us and live in honor at the palace." "Of course." The prince agreed immediately, and so Snow White and the prince were married in a magnificent ceremony. The 7 dwarfs were given places of honor in the kingdom, with their own wing of the palace and the title of royal advisors. As for the wicked queen, when she heard that Snow White lived and had married a prince, her rage consumed her. The magic mirror, tired of serving such evil, showed her a vision of Snow White's happiness. The queen's jealous heart, unable to bear this truth, finally gave out, and she fell down dead. Snow White and her prince ruled wisely and kindly for many years. The seven dwarfs lived happily in the palace, though they still sometimes talked fondly of their little cottage in the woods. And Snow White never forgot the lessons she had learned about trust and caution, about true friendship, and about the power of genuine kindness. And they all lived happily ever after.